Welcome back. We are continuing our lesson here on using the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations here in Module 3, Lesson 7. You'll see here that we already did some previous examples, right? And so from these previous examples, you may have noticed a pattern here. For example, when the number underneath the square root here ended up being 0, right? We ended up with only a single solution. That really happened twice, right? We saw from the factoring here. We ended up with a single solution, sometimes called a double root, but it was a same number though, twice. Okay. In other situations where we ended up with a negative number underneath the square root, we ended up with imaginary solutions, these I answers. And then finally, when we ended up with situations where we had a positive number underneath the square root there, like 81, okay, we got two distinct solutions, two different solutions. Okay, same thing here with the q's, where we ended up with an 8 underneath the square root of positive 8. Okay, we ended up with two real solutions with square roots and stuff inside of them. Okay, so in general, right, with this thing, the b squared minus 4ac portion of the quadratic formula, in fact, maybe I'll go up here and show you that here. This b squared minus 4ac portion right here, that is known as the discriminant. Okay, just like the word discriminate is used to describe when someone, kind of like separates, different groups of things, right? The discriminant helps us to separate the different kinds of solutions we get from in our quadratic equations. The discriminant does not tell us what the solutions are, it just tells us what kind of solutions we can expect to get. Okay, so specifically here, okay, when b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, we have two real solutions. When b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, we have two imaginary solutions. And imaginary because the number I. And then when b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, well, that means we have one real solution. Okay, it's actually, we call that sometimes a double root because it's really occurring twice, the same number twice. So let's take a look here and see what our discriminant is. Okay, this tells us the number of real solutions without telling us the actual solution. So it kind of gives us some idea about what the answer is without having to go through the whole process of using the quadratic formula. So first thing, we need to make sure we're equal to 0. So we'll subtract 8 on both sides and add the 3p. Okay, so minus 8 here plus 3p here. And we get p squared plus 10p plus 25. And so our a is 1, our b is 10, and our c is 25. So go ahead and put these numbers into the discriminant and simplify. And tell me, and see what you get, see what value you get. Okay, so hopefully you paused the video and did that. Okay, if you did, you would have gotten 10 squared minus 4 times 1, which is the a, times 25, which is the c. This is 100 minus 4 times 1 times 25 is 100, and we get exactly 0. So in this case, what do we expect? We expect one real solution because our discriminant is 0. Okay, go ahead and try this for 7, 8, and 9. See what you can come up with. All right, so for number 7 here, we already have it in the correct form. A is 7, B is 2, C is 5, and so we can just do the 2 squared minus 4 times the A times the C, and see what we get. So we get 4 minus, so let's see here, 4 times 7 is 28, times 5 is going to be 140. We can already see here this is less than 0, right? 4 take away 4, 140 is less than 0. We don't even really need to, we don't even actually have to subtract it. We can just see it's going to be less than 0. So in other words, there will be two imaginary solutions. Okay? And again, we know they're imaginary because this is going to be a negative number. And remember the discriminant, this b squared minus 4ac, that's the part that's underneath the square root. Right, so we're taking the square root of a negative, okay, and that's what causes the issue there. It causes us to have imaginary numbers. Okay, number 8. This one was not in the right form. We had to subtract y squared from both sides. We had to subtract 4y from both sides. We had to add 3 to both sides. So that way it's equal to 0. And so we get y squared plus 6y plus 3 equals 0. So a is 1. B is 6, C is 3. And so we get x equals, whoops, nope, sorry, I was going to the quadratic formula there. B squared minus 4 times A times C. And so we get 36 minus 12, which is 24, which is greater than 0. And so we have two real solutions. Okay, last one, also not in the correct form. We'll add 4z to both sides. Okay, so we have 4z squared plus 4z plus 9 equals 0. So our A is 4, our B is also 4, and our C is 9. So we have B squared minus 4 times A times C, which is 16. Let's see, 4 times 4 is 16 times 9 would be 144. Okay, again, right away you can see it's going to be less than 0. So we have two imaginary solutions. Okay. In the next video, we'll take a look at how that affects the graphs, how we can use a discriminant to tell what the graph is going to kind of look like too.